Okay.
No, I can't.
There's a password up on the wall.
Well, I can't even get close to it.
Oh.
That's what you want.
Yeah. Thank you.
This is the
Pam,
are you there? The record.
I am.
And Rob, you there? Village revenues. I'm trying to figure this out here.
Yep,
Yeah.
we can hear you and we can see you.
I
Yes,
don't know what happened.
It looks good, Will.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Okay, all right. Hey,
Great,
so holler if somebody else joins because I'm leaving the controls and going to start the meeting.
We won't be able to see if anybody else tries to join. That's all on your computer.
Yeah, Will, we're the only ones that can see.
Nice. I didn't set this up right here either. What's going on? Let's
Ooh,
see.
why SIO? Is that here? WIS SIO?
Share screen, no.
This password.
Yeah, it's right over here.
Security. Share screen.
CRST-9223.
All right, we're gonna leave it like this, I guess, and I think we're all right.
Will, if someone sends us a text that they're trying to get in and they can't, is it okay if we break into your meeting and tell you?
Yeah, you can. I don't see anybody right now who's on the list. I'm still figuring it out here, but let's go with what we have.
Okay.
All right, we'll call this meeting to order. Liz, would you call the roll, please?
I would call Hob first, but I understand that he resigned.
He's not going to be here.
Marty Mayo.
Here.
Lisa Pappas. Here. Tim is absent today. Will Weber.
Here.
Only 5 minutes here.
Okay.
Okay, so we're all ready to go.
All right, next is approval of the agenda. Anything left off here that we think should be included?
Move to approve.
That
looks good to me. Move to approve.
okay. I guess we'll discuss this merger of Parks and TAP in the context of the commission, other commission reports, if there's anything we can understand about that. All right, so can we approve the agenda?
We need a second for Marty's motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Looks like it's unanimous. Good. Next is approval of the minutes. Thank you, Liz, for doing a good job. Are there any comments or questions about the minutes from the last meeting? All right. The one thing that I noted in the minutes that I don't think we had in the agenda. Barry, did you attend the meeting with Tim of the American Farmland Trust in Dexter? I did. Okay, so Marty was there too. Oh, okay. So maybe we can bring that up at some point. Actually brought some stuff to share. All right, good. All right.
Also, the only thing is that Wiseman reported that Marjorie Kemp has resigned from TAP. Is that Kemp or not?
K-E-M-P. Did I spell it wrong?
No, that's how you spelled it. I was thinking it might have been a different person.
Oh, no.
No, that's right.
I think she's the one, yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Motion to accept.
Should we discuss finding a new person?
Well, let's first approve the last minute.
Yeah.
The last meeting's minutes. So we need a motion and a.
So move.
Okay, Marty.
Second. No second.
Okay, Will.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right hand, okay. All right, so we've approved the minutes and Liz, you'll send those then to the clerk.
Yeah.
So welcome and public comments. Pam and Rob, have you anything?
I do have one thing and it's more housekeeping than anything else. When I was looking at your agenda on your webpage at Land Preservation webpage, it does say at the top, regular meeting second Thursday every month at 4 p.m. So it just, you know, it's something I guess Chrissy would need to do. Every other place, it's 3. And I know you you moved it and you've moved the time back to 3 o'clock, but just as a housekeeping, there you go.
Oh, good point. So it was correct in the agenda that was posted, but there's a standing list of meetings and it was not changed there. Is that correct?
Yes, but it's on your webpage. So if you go to the Land Preservation Commission page, right at the very top, it says regular meeting reports to an authority. But everything else in every other place, it does have the correct time of 3 o'clock. Just that one last place needs fixing.
Thank you very much. I will take care of that,
All right,
Pam.
Liz,
Thank you.
you'll take care of that. Great.
You're very welcome.
Any other comments here? So we've approved the minutes and the agenda. Rob, did you have anything you'd like to say?
Not a thing, just happy to be here.
Okay. All right, let's then go to reports of the other commissions. We may not have very much here, but Marty, did you attend one of the other commissions?
No?
No, maybe it's just you then, Liz. Can you tell us what's going on with Parks and
Okay,
Tap?
so planning, no report, and Parks and Rec, no report. You want me to do TAP then, okay? TAP was yesterday. There were several interesting things. Well, first of all, they didn't have a quorum, so I guess they were not able to conduct business. They did talk about some things, and Anna gave an interesting report. There's a Spark grant. Do you all know what that is?
Spark grant?
Spark grant.
Yeah, it's an incubator in Ann Arbor, I think, that gives out money to get things started.
Well, this is a federal source of federal funding that is it comes from COVID funds, and you can apply to use it on various projects. It comes from the DNR. So anyway, Anna's gonna put together a proposal to work on some trails, I think some new trails in the township. Yeah, and then I guess it's quite competitive, so the question is.
Do you know how much it was? Are they just
How much
applying or did they receive
There's
it?
a ton of money. No. It's just in the application.
Oh, okay.
It's just something that's getting started. So that was one thing they talked about. They talked about merging Parks and Recreation with transportation alternatives. Where that stands is that Anna is drafting a proposal of what that new group might look like, a mission statement and sort of a charge of what the group would be working on. And it's going to get it to the chairs of both those groups, like pretty soon, I guess. I don't know the time, I'm not sure of the timeline. And then they're going to talk about it. And then after the first of the year is what I understand, it will be presented to the board of trustees.
Okay.
It sounds as if it is going to happen, but I think not for a bit.
Yeah.
Not necessarily by the first of the year. Chris talked about the draft pros plan, and that will be something that involves us. You'll be getting it from him, the draft, in addition to the chairs of TAP and the Parks group. And then we will need to, everyone will need to review it and get comments to Chris. And it's pretty long. It's like 130.
No. Didn't you have the opportunity already to make comments on that?
This is the final draft.
Final draft.
Is a final draft. So it's really nice looking. It's just a big old stack of papers. But anyway, so the timeline is working backwards. February 1st, it has to be to the state, which means that the board has to approve it in January, which means that we have to get any comments to Chris really soon. So that means Chris Nordstrom would like us to, at our December meeting, which says that we should maybe meet in December, to sign a joint resolution the way we've done before. You will, and the chairs of TAP and Parks, a joint resolution recommending the draft, that the board adopt the draft pros plan.
Yeah. Okay,
So that would be on our next month's agenda.
okay, let's make sure when we make the agenda up that
Yeah.
I'm reminded to include that, Liz.
And I'm sure you should be getting it any day. Chris.
Now, we did receive a draft, maybe not the final draft, and I sent a note to you and I think Chris clarified. Did any of you actually send him any further comments on that? We were marginally included. When I saw, everything looked fine, other than the constitution of the commission was wrong. But,
Was there anything about sustainability in it?
you know, I don't recall. I wasn't scanning for that.
Yeah, I didn't look at it. Somehow I've been.
Yeah. Well, chance to look and see in the final draft if it's there.
Yeah, this is different. This is a final, this is after incorporating all comments that he got.
And there still has to be a public hearing on this. I
And there
understand.
will, yes, right.
Yeah, so this is really
It's a
going
very
through a
short
lot of
timeline.
review. That must be a sole
One thing he
project.
said that I thought was good, he said that if anything unexpected comes up in the next 5 years that the pros plan doesn't address, it can be amended.
Oh, okay.
So that's good to know, because, you know, how can we anticipate everything that might come up?
All right.
So that's my review.
And the reason for that deadline, by the way, of February, is that the deadline for applying for the State Natural Resources Trust Fund grant awards, which is true for both acquisition projects, which we've only used once on the original Sloan purchase, but also, you know, there's funds that are available to local municipalities for projects also, construction of trails, buildings, you know, whatever, and that's all due April 1st. So if you get the plan in by February 1st, the staff have a chance to review it and approve it in time so you can actually submit applications for funding.
All right. Well, just out of curiosity, Barry, do you see anything that might be a prospective grant that we would apply for underneath the land trust?
No,
No. Okay.
not at this time.
All right.
It's for fee simple acquisitions only, not for conservation easements.
Okay.
We don't have any of those lined up. And you know, the great thing about it is there's lots of money available. It's, you know, $20 or $30 million a year that's available statewide. But it's a very slow process. If you're going to apply for either an acquisition grant or a development grant, you get it in by April 1. It gets reviewed by staff, and the recommendations are made to the trust fund board late in the year, usually like November or December. And then starting in January, there's an act of the legislature that has to be passed to authorize the expenditure of the funds. And even though it's a no-brainer thing, it takes 6 months to do that. And then there's contracts that are associated. So by the time you actually have a contract in hand committing the state's funds, it's 1.5 years after you've applied. And so.
Yeah. So if you've got somebody who wants to sell now, it's not going to work out. No. All right.
It also has to be land that is retained in the ownership of the applicant. That is, it's not something you could split off at a future time, put a conservation easement on it, like a bioprotect cell situation. You can't do that. It's for.
Is it of any use to us?
Only if we had another piece of land that we wanted to buy, and we had a very cooperative seller that was willing to sit around for 2 years, basically. Then yeah, possibly, but.
So if we buy it, is it conserved?
Yes, I mean, it's a township owned property, just like Van Curler Preserve or the West Scioto Preserve. It's just, you know, it's just a long process, but you know, the upside of it is that they'll contribute as much as 75% of the appraised value. So you got $1 million property, they'll give you $750,000. But yeah, but regardless of that, even if we don't use it, the folks from TAP or Parks, you know, can use it for the development grant side of things, and that it all has to be, you know, approved before the April 1 deadline.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. I believe the Board of Trustees did not meet Tuesday.
Correct.
But our business before the Board of Trustees is to get two things. One, to get us reappointed, so those of us who need to be reappointed, as well as find another representative and a commission, Board of Trustee representative for the commission. So hopefully next meeting, we'll have some clarification on that. All
Do
right.
we have to do anything like initiate on the website that we're looking for potential members?
You know, there is a notice on the township's website that if you're interested in any of these commissions, you should,
Yeah,
you know,
Kind of
apply.
generic
But
one.
I don't think there's a special want ad for this, and I don't know if there's anybody in mind at this point, but keep your eyes open for a person who would be well qualified and congenial and intelligent.
Barry, do you know if anybody on the Huron River Watershed Council lives in Scioto?
Staff people, you mean?
Somebody
who
who might
a
be
rep.
good to join this.
Oh, there's, that's a great idea, actually. And, you know, there is a representative from SCIO to the Watershed Council, you know, on their board of directors.
Who is that?
I don't know. I'll see if I can find out.
I think that that would be a good person to
In
pinpoint.
addition to that, and we could ask that person if they wanted to do, you know, serve another role. There's also a person generally who is the alternate. So if the regular board member can't make a meeting, you call. I was the Dexter Township Board rep for the Watershed Council for like 10 years. And so there were only a couple of times when I couldn't make a meeting. And so I would call the alternate and say, can you fill in for me at this meeting? They only meet quarterly, I think it is. But in addition to that, Chris Olson, I think is the one that maintains this list of, they call them change makers, people they've identified or have contacted them in the past to get more involved with something. And they've been able to use that list of people, and it's by township or municipality.
That's perfect. That's just what we need.
To tap into. I'll contact Chris about that.
Check with Chris, great, good idea.
And I know that they, in others, I don't know if it's happened here, but I know in other circumstances, you know, an opening will come up on the planning commission or, you know, something else. And they'll say, hey, this is an opportunity. And people from that group will apply to that. So
Is she comfortable if that list is shared? Can I see a copy of that too?
I can ask.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course, we'll ask for specific recommendations too, if she knows them well enough to be specific.
Yeah.
So after we get that list and we realize who the SCIO rep is for do you want to reach out to them, or shall I reach out to them, or Chris?
I'm happy to.
Okay.
And we need to make sure that that person has enough time.
Yeah.
Well, we'll
Come to
find
the
out.
meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm sure there are other watershed members who
Yes.
live in
And
Scioto.
SCIO, yeah.
Yeah, that's an even larger
Right,
group of people. So there's the person or a couple
Yeah.
people that are the board reps, then there's the change makers, which maybe
Uh-huh.
15 or 20 people, I'm gonna guess something like that. And then there's the membership, which
Yeah.
is hundreds, I'm sure.
What about Margie Knapp?
So no,
She,
well, she's the one that resigned from
no,
TAP, right? No?
oh, did she? No, that's Kemp,
Camper now.
Yeah.
Knapp.
Yeah.
Knapp, well, Margie worked on the group that was supporting Will during the,
This is the same
Recall.
person, so maybe I spelled her name wrong. I'll double check that, because she's the one that resigned from
really,
TAP.
that was working
And how do you spell her name?
KNEPP.
Okay.
Bob Hyde, HYDE, is the Scioto Township rep.
Well, he's on the planning commission. So,
And you know, one of the things that there was an endeavor to do previously was to have overlap on some committees, so there was some coordination about things. I don't know if that's still an issue. Obviously, you know, this has been. Are you actually a member of TAP?
Well, I'm the LPC representative,
So,
TAP.
you know, in the past, when we've gone down the list here, you know, somebody like Alec, you know, at one point, I think it was, or Jacqueline actually, was on the planning commission and here, and, you know, Hob was a Parks and Rec person and here. And obviously we had a BOT rep. And there's certainly benefit to that, but you know, people could get, if you will, tapped out.
is,
Oh, that's very good.
Right.
is there a reason why Hop decided not to stay with us?
He indicated to me that as his profession was urban planning, planning commission was a better home for him, and he had found himself spread too thin across other commissions. And there was no resentment
Yeah.
or, you know, regrets.
Yeah.
Best wishes, go ahead, so. I hope it's not because we weren't all wearing masks, but who knows? Who knows what he's thinking? I don't know.
We're far enough apart now,
Yeah,
not
right.
to spread
It's
our.
never been a big crowd in here.
No, okay. All right. Anything more regarding other commissions you can think of? Any news? Okay, if not, let's move on to old business, and the most joyous of old business is the millage renewal report.
Good job.
Congratulations to everybody who worked hard on that.
Congrats.
Especially Lisa and Liz, though. I mean, they're the ones that spearhead.
Really put a lot of time in, Liz, thank you.
I'm good at putting those signs on people's yards. She's good at putting together the design.
Yeah, you guys were a great team.
Finding the printer.
Speaking of signs, I understand you're willing to store these for 10 years.
Yes.
So I've got 2 in the car. I don't know what other people put their signs to
I
be.
have some in my trunk.
I
Yeah,
have
I'll
I
take
have a
them.
lot of. Yeah.
Let's remember that at the end of the meeting. I'm curious, Barry, you were around for the last millage renewal. How did the percentage this time compare with last time? We had a little better than 2 to 1 in favor.
Yes. And
72, wasn't it?
the first one, according to, I looked up some presentation data that I have. And the first vote in 2004 was 75% in favor. The renewal 10 years ago was 70%.
70.
And this time was 68. So it's all about the same. I mean, no matter how you slice it, it's a landslide.
There wasn't any opposition in the first 2, was there?
None whatsoever.
Okay, so we did pretty well then in terms of overcoming any objections to our.
Yes, I would say so. And, you know, so much about these things is the times in which people are voting. You know, we heard comments about, you know, high gas prices and inflation
Economy,
and so
yeah,
forth, you know, the
yeah.
economy and uncertainty and
Yeah.
so forth. So those are factors also. But, you know, it's better than 2 to 1. It's a ringing endorsement, I would say, for what we've accomplished here and what we will accomplish going forward.
Yeah, it's nice for you to be able to say, yeah, we've got the money coming in for the next 4 years here, right?
No,
3 years.
10
the
years.
next 12 years. We have 2 more
Excuse me,
years on the
excuse me,
current
that's right.
millage, and then 10 more years after that. So, I mean, it's a huge
Well,
thing.
It's
to be
just
able to say.
continuity. That's what I was worried about. It's just that we can't work on these projects that are coming down the road if we don't
Right.
know whether the program's going to continue or not.
Especially the big ones, you know,
Yeah.
there's some other smaller ones that we're working on, and we've got the money to do that with the next couple of tax collections, but some bigger projects that we're kicking
Right.
around, you know, a longer term commitment to know that we have funds available is key.
Yeah.
Right. Okay,
And if I may add also, if you didn't know, there were also proposals on the ballot in Northfield Township and in Dexter Township where I live. And that was the first time for both of them. And so there was no history to rely on. And I had no idea what to expect.
Wasn't there a third one?
Augusta Township.
Northfield?
Oh, there was, well, there was something like a Parks and Pathways millage in Augusta.
which didn't pass.
Sort of the public safety, I mean, everything went down in Augusta. The public safety,
Tough times
yeah.
out there, yeah.
yeah, it's,
But how about Dexter Township?
yeah, so Northfield, for a similar kind of proposal as to what we had. First time after years and decades of trying to get it on the ballot. It won with 56%, which was way better than I could have imagined. So great success there.
Dexter City or Dexter?
Dexter Township,
Dexter Township.
which was also the first time on the ballot, doing a similar kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
Also a couple of decades in the making. And in that case, a number of citizens for years had gone before the Board of Trustees asking them to put on the ballot, just let us vote on it. And they refused to do that. And 2 years ago, a slate of candidates ran against them and won. And those new trustees put it on the ballot this year. Again, not having any idea what is going to happen. And 63% voted in favor of it.
Wow.
I mean, I thought we could have as low as 40. And, you know, if we're lucky, we'll get into the 50s and win. I never thought we'd get north of 60. Never. So
Well, that probably reflects that they had a new board of trustees.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but that they elected them, that there's a new
Absolutely.
breezes in.
Yep.
Exeter Township.
Yep. But I also just think that the community has been ready for that for a long time.
Yeah.
And the previous board, for whatever reasons, philosophical or whatever, just refused to do it. And so we said, see ya. Yeah. And brought in people that, it's not just land preservation, they're doing all kinds of great stuff out there. But that was one of their key campaign platforms was moving ahead with that. So they followed through, put on the ballot, and
Good.
Great.
And even the first time the SIO, people voted on the SIO village, there wasn't opposition.
nope.
Is that right?
Nope. And tacit this time.
What year was that?
The first one was 2004 here.
2004. That was the year that the old guard got voted out.
That's correct. Yep, it was in the 2000 election that Al Gore got more votes than George Bush in Scioto Township.
Mhm.
And that was the first time a Democratic presidential candidate got more votes than the Republican in forever.
Well, yeah, because there was always a Republican group of people running the township.
Yeah. And that's when Dems in this township said, "Ooh, we can win," and ran a slate in 2004. So it was the old board that put the proposal on the ballot.
Oh, really?
And, because they were in office up until 2004.
Right. Oh, okay.
So I'll credit them for that. But then most of them got voted out. Donna was still retained, but most of them got voted out that year. Yeah, so.
All right, good.
A green wave.
In Washington, so. All right, we've discussed the item under new business, need for another LPC commission member, so I don't know if there's any more to say about that. Guess we'll go to the open session consultants report. Now, do we need to share a screen here? Looks like share screen is green. Does that mean that you can go in?
I have not logged in, so I'm not prepared to.
Okay,
share.
that's right. Well, maybe you could just go over things.
Yeah, I think it's mostly verbal anyway. So I did want to share a couple of things. First, I mentioned that Marty and I and Tim had a meeting with Kara O'Connor from American Farmland Trust. She's the Midwest Philanthropy Officer. And she gave us a couple copies of this folder stuff. Yeah, really great stuff. We had interacted almost 2 hours, I think we met with her.
Yeah.
Really, had a great conversation about what they do. But she wanted to learn more about what we've done here in Scioto and in the surrounding communities. And at one point, she referred to us here as superstars, and that we were. They, a national organization, were looking to what we've collectively accomplished here in Washington County between the Greenbelt and the county and the townships, and the federal money that we've got, all that stuff. They were all aware of that and said that they wanted to basically promote us as a prime example of what can be accomplished. Which was really heartening to hear.
Oh, it's.
So I got an extra copy of that. You're welcome to take it with you. I just wanted to share that with you. And the other thing I wanted to share, also American Farmland Trust related, was a book that I got sent a little while ago that I've read. And it's basically a history of American Farmland Trust. Some stuff that I knew, a lot of stuff that I didn't. And so I found it very informative, and I thought that I would share that also for people that wanted to have a nice read to it's an organization that has tread the line between agriculture and environment for its existence, which is now I think 40 years or so. Whereas those two camps can often be on opposite sides of a lot of issues, AFT saw that there was opportunity for overlap and cooperation. And so one of the key things that they talk about there, for example, is the Farm Bill is produced by Congress every 5 years or so, which is a an omnibus bill that collects all kinds of stuff for all kinds of programs. It's not just farm subsidies, it's all the SNAP program for low-income people to get food assistance, and I mean, it's an enormous bill that gets passed every 5 years. It also funds the conservation easement funding grant source that we get funds from, lots of different things. But prior to AFT's involvement, there was no what they call conservation title. There's different titles within the course of the whole legislation, but there was nothing dealing with conservation, and so they were the ones that said, look, we got environmentalists that are yelling at farmers for poor practices that are polluting the water systems, and we got the farmers that saying we're just trying to make a buck, and and they found common ground between the two of them, and created these new programs that are now entrenched in the farm bill. They're rolled over every time, and it was AFT that really spearheaded the collaboration to get people to talk to each other, where they were just throwing rocks at each other previously. And a bunch of other stuff like that, the history of what was the Farmland Protection Program, and then the Farm and Ranchland Protection Program, and now the Agricultural Conservation Easement Program that we get money from, and the Resource Conservation Partnership Program that we get money from. They were all very much in the lead on all of those things. So just a lot of great history about that. They talked about the economic studies that they've spearheaded over the years. We did one here in Scioto many years ago, the cost of community services study that showed that residential development doesn't pay in terms of taxes. It costs more, service to properties and so forth. They were in the forefront of a lot of that kind of stuff too. So it's a good read. I wasn't sure, what I would see, and I actually quite enjoyed it a lot.
I learned a lot. They got the background of a lot of things.
Yeah. So that, let me go to my other report.
Who's the author?
Don Stewart, S-T-U-A,
Don.
D-O-N.
And he was a staff person for many years. And so I had a lot of,
At AFT.
a lot of history and background. I think that's all I wanted to say elsewhere. So to my report, my open session report, we're still waiting for the RENS reimbursement. Has not hit yet, but I'm assured that we provided everything that's necessary, and it should show up anytime.
They don't add interest, do they? Or
Maybe we should.
Yeah. So I will. The fireworks will go off when that hits our pockets. But
Yeah, I have one.
so
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Oh, that's right, because you were there.
Yeah.
So for the two projects that we have purchase agreements on, a couple of updates. So after the last meeting, I asked Tom Burnham for an update, and his response was he's still trying to get this one last mortgage removed. We'll stay on it as it is time for the house to sell. And I don't know if that means they've got an offer or, and it's been for sale for a long time, the whole property. And I know they've been anxious to get rid of it, but.
That's a good time for selling a house right now.
Right. So, the concern that I expressed last time was that, County Parks was saying, gosh, this has been going on for a long time now. This is going to be, this is ever going to close. They've committed, a small amount, $70,000, but it's not insignificant. And they've got a lot of interest in other projects. And so they want to know if that money is going to be available or not. I haven't heard from them again since that initial conversation, a month or so ago. So
still waiting.
yeah, and we'll see where it goes. And then on the Wisely and Fix property, so just to remind you all, we had a purchase agreement signed by both parties, and but could not find when the Board of Trustees approved that expenditure. It was sometime a year ago or so, because the purchase agreement was signed in late December of 2021. And after much discussion, we decided to create, and actually there was an amendment to that also because we changed the acreage, which changed the purchase price and some other dates. You know, we weren't going to meet. And so an amendment was drafted. It was signed by the sellers, but not by Will Hathaway, because we didn't know when the original date was that the Board of Trustees approved the expenditure.
Goes to show you why good minutes are important.
And you know, it is. And I went through all the LPC minutes to see when the recommendation was made, to give some indication of when the board may have approved it. And there's only one set of minutes in how many, we're on meeting, you know, 100 and whatever at this point. There's one set of meeting minutes that is missing.
Oh, no.
It was the transition
end
between
of the
Erwin
year,
Martin and Liz, I
yeah.
think.
Oh,
Yeah, toward the end of the
no.
year. And it's like that, you know, I didn't see it anywhere else.
20, yeah.
And so that's probably the set of minutes where the recommendation was made. It was like November of 21. So I don't have that to rely on. I mean, I looked everywhere, you know, for all these different sources of things and couldn't find it. So
I
we took,
mean, it's a pain, but there are recordings of the Board of Trustees meetings.
So there are now, but there probably weren't in 2020.
right,
Oh, I
Right.
see, gotcha.
Yeah. they
yeah,
haven't
I mean,
really-
it wasn't on,
That would have been Erwin's last, I didn't even know he was the secretary, but that would have been his last meeting, November of 2020.
yeah.
Should it be in our minutes or in the board?
So the one set of LPC minutes that's missing, I think is the one that has the recommendation in it. Because I looked at all the
I
ones
might just
previous
have
and
it.
all
I
the
can
ones
go
after.
back in and look.
And then,
I don't have it organized, but
you know, these are the ones that are online and available.
But that's sort of water under the bridge now, right?
It all is, yeah. So we decided that we were gonna instead create a replacement purchase agreement that refers to the original agreement, to say, we did do this, things didn't happen, we're sort of restating everything. And that will be on the agenda for next week's board meeting for approval.
Oh, good.
Yes,
For approval of expenditure of the sum necessary to buy that wisely.
yes, correct.
Okay.
And signing the purchase agreement
Which we
and the closing
actually
costs.
recommended they approve several meetings ago, right?
Yes,
Okay.
that made a re-recommendation.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
So there's no opposition to this.
No, but nothing I know of. So we also got the finally comments from the city and county within the last couple of weeks, you know, way more than the 60 days to which they typically commit to make comments. But since we were still working through this other process, it was not a big deal in this case. So I have requested closing statements for the end of this month. And we may spill into December, but one way or another, this thing's gonna close this year.
So November, is the board is gonna act on it in November, this
Next
next
Tuesday,
November.
this coming Tuesday,
Next
the
Tuesday,
15th.
okay, all right.
And then it's a matter of just, you know, assembling everything, you know, finally, and getting signatures on this replacement purchase agreement. And I thought that could all come together between November 15th, the board meeting, and November 30th. I thought, what the hell is this good? Closing statements. And if we, you know, have to change the date, you know, or whatever, that's fine. So.
Okay.
And that's all. So no actions will be taken on that, just updates.
All right. Thank you, Barry. In anticipation of our next meeting, I want to check to see that we're going to have a quorum. That would be December 8th. Can all of you make it to that meeting? If we have, I guess we have to have one now. I mean, the other consideration is, do we need a meeting in
We will
December?
need it for the pros.
Yeah. All right, well, maybe it'll be brief, but
I'll be here.
you're good?
Here.
You're good?
I will.
Okay, well, it looks like our reduced quorum here is gonna be fine then.
PR, is it, what does the PROS stand for?
Parks and Recreation and Open Space.
Oh, it's just the.
It's a state required document that a
To
township
apply
has
for
to
the
have
Okay.
on file in order to qualify for these grants.
Okay.
You can call it anything you want to, you know, Parks and Rec plan or whatever.
Yeah.
And here they call it Parks Recreation Open Space.
I mean, it must be extraordinarily expensive to prepare this. Chris has been working on this
Yeah.
for months, and it's,
15 grand or something.
I think it's more than that.
It might be.
yeah, it's a shame that it costs so much, because I don't know that it's gonna really have that much function, in fact, but he's certainly putting the effort in.
I like it because it solicits input from a lot of different constituencies.
It's true.
And I think that's important to get, and of course, there was low attendance at the public.
That was unfortunate.
Yeah, and so that's where we could need to do better. But if we can publicize it, ideally, there are a lot of people that can have input and say, we either really like this idea or we do not like this idea. And I think that's really great for the community.
Pam, are you listening in?
I am.
So we're talking about this Parks and Recreation Open Space Plan.
Yes.
Yeah, there's going to be another public hearing. I don't think Chris has scheduled that yet, but criticism we had, I think from Kathleen among others, was it wasn't well publicized. So, kind of look to you, I suppose, to, establish that this public hearing is going to be there and is worth, people showing up if they're interested.
I agree. I would suggest that you guys plaster it on Nextdoor frequently. I think you get a lot of people who read Nextdoor a lot, and having that available. I would also see if you can't get a news article in both the Dexter Sun-Times and MLive, promoting that public hearing beforehand.
We should pass that along to Chris, that, those are avenues that he didn't use last time that he should this
So
time.
he will be getting the draft to you, and I think that's the time when you could get back to him and say,
Okay.
hey, we've gotten this
Okay.
feedback from the community. And
Yeah.
Pam's like, those are good ideas.
Thanks for passing those tips along,
Yeah.
Pam.
Yep, and I'm always happy to put something in the newsletter too. So,
Okay.
yep.
We'll make sure you're aware.
And a banner on the township website, but not everyone looks at the township
Right.
website.
Right. Okay. All right. So we're ready, I guess, to go into closed session unless there's anything else for open session that is our meeting has generated. All right, then we'll ask those of you in attendance in the public to leave now. I don't think do we have anything to vote on that we'll have to reconvene for?
Unless it's something in the closed session.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking Barry, if he, looking at the closed session minutes.
Probably not.
Okay. All right. So unlikely there'll be a vote at the end of the closed session.
As your friendly neighborhood Zoom technical consultant, I would suggest if you have a chance of voting on something, just put the Zoom recording on pause instead of stopping it altogether. And then that way, if you come back into open session and vote, you can start the recording again and then stop it when you're all done.
Gonna look into how to do that right now.
Lisa's the expert.
Lisa's up there.
Thank you, Rob.
We got this.
You bet.
Thanks, Ron.
You see how to do that, Lisa? Put it on the recording on pause. Up here in the upper left.
Oh, is that what she said?
No, then move over to the right there. Drop down menu maybe.
Where's the done?
Okay, it's been,
May I move to go back into public session and to adjourn?
okay,
And I support that motion.
okay, it's been moved and supported that we go back into open session and adjourn.
And I'll do a roll call.
Please.
Marty,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Will,
Yes,
and I am Jess.
okay. Now, do we have to spool this or something in order to get it to actually be ready to go for public viewing at a later date on YouTube?
I figure